Oh shit. What's going on? It's good? Fuck. Am I live? Okay, I'm live. Wow. You know, I was gonna be on time for once, but I guess not. Having some technical difficulty. I actually started at 9, okay, guys? Actually started at 9. You gotta believe me. I was having some technical issues. Um, What's up, Wing Chun? How's it going? What's up, Casey? Losh, I'm glad you're here. What's up, Sal? You are early to a stream for once. What's up, Bigfoot? Glad you're here. Hey, Christina. How's it going? What's up, Claire? Nikki. Okay. You summon Lynn for me? Yes. All right. I'm on Wi-Fi. Usually I'm on wired connection, but now it's Wi-Fi. I hope it's going to be okay. It should be, I think. Da-da-da. How is my vacation going? It's not a vacation, but it's going pretty well. I'm still working. How are you doing? Claire, you haven't been on one of these in forever. You have to catch up. Okay. Yeah, the story is getting pretty good, and we're hurtling towards the end. A lot of stuff is happening. I'm excited. Mm-hmm. All right. We're going to do the typing game. You've been doing home decoration. Oh, what kind of decoration? All right. Okay. I want to break 100, okay? 100 words per minute. Come on. All right. Can I do it? I think I can do it. Oh, not even close. All right. All right, faster. From ham. Oh, too fast. Nope. Here to run. All right. What's going on? Okay. All right. Calm as the Buddha. Calm as Buddha. Fuck. All right. Oh my god! Okay, okay. Okay, okay. Oh, I can feel it. It was lower than last time. What the fuck? I think it was because of the errors. Okay. All right. I can do this. Oh! Oh my god. We did it. 105. Look at how it started. 156. Yo. Hey, let me take a screenshot. Hell yeah. Save. Yo. Type 105. What the hell? Nailed it. True. Ah. You know what that deserves? That deserves a mochi, baby. This is taro. Japanese mochi. Okay. But then it says Taiwan dessert. Okay. This should be good. It has a filling inside. See that? Yeah. Oh wait, let me change the... Okay. Now you can see it. Yeah, there you go. See that brown filling inside? That looks good. All right, let me open it. Mochi is such a fun word to say, is it? Ooh. Of course, it comes in additional packaging. Oh, wait, can you see it? Yeah. I love packaging. All right. Give me a second. It's like they don't want me to eat it. What the fuck? All right. Oh my god, you guys. Oh, it smells so good. Oh. 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 Why does it smell so good? Okay. Yeah, see it. Hmm. 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 Hold on. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, pretty good. I taste the taro. And the filling is not bad too. You can smell the taro immediately. And it smells so delicious. Nom, 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 nom. I might have to eat this whole thing on stream. The entire thing. Rated out of 10? This is like a... It's gotta be like a... Like a... Do I want to say 9? Maybe 8.9. Maybe 8.9. But it's really good, you guys. Ah, so good. The nom sound seals the deal. If I'm gonna eat it all now, it's gotta be a 10. There's no such thing as a 10, guys. A 10 is like the perfect food. But this is pretty good. I think because I put it in the fridge that it's not like super duper chewy. It's a little bit hard for mochi. Yeah, but otherwise, it's really good. You've never heard anyone moan while eating? What do you mean? You don't moan while eating? You've never eaten anything and you go, ah, ah. You guys remember that those shampoo commercials? What was it? What were they? What was the brand? Yeah, the shampoo commercials where she's like, ah, so good. Herbal essence. Petri, true. Herbal essence. Those were amazing. Yeah, I was a young kid back then. And I love those. All right. All right, shall we get started? All right. What happened last week? Some really interesting events happened, okay? So last week, our heroes, Duan Yu and Xiao Feng and Suju, they're going to Western Xia, okay? Because the emperor of Western Xia wants to hold a competition to find a man to wed to his daughter, the princess. Now, whoever becomes his son-in-law is going to have a lot of power, right? So they're going there because Duan Yu's dad wants him to compete, okay? And Duan Yu is going there because he wants to meet Wang Yuyan. Now they're going there, and then they find the three great evils. Remember, there are three now because Ye Ernang died. The three great evils, they're hanging off of a cliff. and they're holding on to a person, and that person was Wang Yuyan. Okay, and it turns out that they saved her from suicide. She wanted to jump down, and they saw her and they stopped her from jumping down. Then we find out that she found out that her cousin Mu Rongfu is going to compete in the Western Xia competition, and she finds this out. So that means that he doesn't want to marry her, and she's super sad. So that's why she wants to kill herself. Now Duan Yu, he hears this, and being the great good guy that he is, the gigantic simp, he promises to convince Mu Rongfu to forget about the competition, okay, so that he can be with her. Now Wang Yuyan hears this, and she's a little bit moved. She agrees. She's like, "Oh, thanks." That night, Duan Yu is kidnapped by someone, and we find out that that someone is Mu Rongfu. Okay, so Mu Rongfu kidnaps him. Now Duan Yu, he tries to convince him. He tries to convince Mu Rongfu that, hey, you should forget about the competition and go marry freaking Wang Yuyan, the cousin that loves you so much. But then Mu Rongfu doesn't believe him. Mu Rongfu thinks it's all a trick. All right, and Mu Rongfu, after some talking, he pushes Duan Yu down a well because he doesn't want Duan Yu to be his competition. Now, Wang Yuyan is in the background. She sees this somehow, and she comes over, and but she thinks that he's dead. Duan Yu falls down the well, and he doesn't make a sound. So Wang Yuyan sees it, thinks that he's dead. Wang Yuyan, she tries to convince Mu Rongfu to quit the competition, but he refuses. Okay, he can't quit his sense of duty in restoring the Yan dynasty. Now, Wang Yuyan learns that Duan Yu, during this conversation, she learns that Duan Yu is part of the Dali royal family. And she's kind of impressed. She's like, oh, he's like a prince. Wait, is he a prince? No, he's like the son of a prince. Yeah, and then he's rich, and he's from a big old royal family. So she's kind of impressed. But anyways, at the end of the day, she's heartbroken that her cousin refuses to marry her, and she goes to jump into the well. Okay, she starts to jump into the well, and Mu Rongfu, he sees this, and he doesn't try to stop her. Okay, and she notices this, so she tries to jump down. She sees him hesitating, and she's like, "Oh, so you're not gonna try to stop me?" And now she thinks that he's like a cold-blooded person. Okay, her cousin. And then, then that happened. And then she actually jumps into the well. And that's where we stop. All right, how's that? Now, from what Losh told me, that part where Wang Yuyan is like kind of impressed that Duan Yu is part of the Dali royal family and he's like rich and all that stuff. Apparently, that was added in a later edition of the book. So before, that part wasn't in the book, which, yeah, that part did seem kind of weird because I didn't think that she didn't seem to be a person that was, that into like wealth and fame and stuff like that. So I don't know why she was like kind of impressed that Duan Yu is part of the royal family. Yeah, so that seemed kind of weird. So that's why it seems kind of off, not in her character. Is this a new story or an older one? No, this is the story that we've been reading. It's almost done though. She'll survive because she's gonna land on the body below. What if Duan Yu didn't die, but then she fell down and she kills him actually? But in the end, he saves her life. That would be pretty cool. All right. So, okay. So here, yeah, she sees that Mu Rongfu hesitates, doesn't stop her from jumping down. She's like, oh, you're this level of cold-bloodedness. And then she jumps. All right. Chapter 45, Part 2. With an exclamation, Mu Rongfu took a step closer to her, his hand reaching out and thinking of grabbing her leg. Based on his martial arts, it was extremely easy to reach her, but ultimately he was hit by indecisiveness and allowed her to complete her jump. What a great guy. Letting out a sigh, Mu Rongfu shook his head and remarked, "Cousin, in your heart you truly love Mr. Duan. Although the two of you cannot live as a married couple, but by dying in the same hole, at least you should die a fulfilled death." All of a sudden, someone behind him scolded, "Crying crocodile tears, hypocrite!" Oh, someone saw it. Mu Rongfu was taken aback. He wondered, somebody had crept up on me, and I failed to sense it. First, he sent a palm stroke to whoever was behind him before turning his body around. Under the moonlight, he witnessed a flashing shadow, evading his palm strike by nimbly floating away. It was considered a rare feat, even among top martial artists. Mu Rongfu dashed forward, and without waiting for the mysterious figure to descend, he sent out another palm stroke and cursed. "Who is it? How dare you make fun of a noble mister?" Whilst in midair, the person sent out his own palm to match Mu Rongfu's palm blow, and their skills were evenly matched. Using the momentum to float another several yards away, the figure finally landed on the ground. It was Tu Bo's grand priest, Jiu Mozi. Oh no, they're gonna make a lovely pair, aren't they? Jiu Mozi continued, "It is fully obvious you are responsible for causing Miss Wang to commit suicide by jumping into the well. Yet here you are, saying she is getting a fulfilled death. Mr. Mu Rong, don't you think you have gone too far in your scheming and cruelty?" Mu Rongfu was incensed. "This is my personal affair. Who are you to interfere?" Jiu Mozi declared, "You have committed such a heinous crime. Of course I, a monk, must get involved. Furthermore, since you intended to become the prince consort of Wuxia, then this is no longer a private affair." Mu Rongfu demanded, "Are you telling me that you, as a monk, is vying to be the prince consort as well?" Jiu Mozi burst out laughing and replied, "A monk becoming a prince consort? What logic is that?" Mu Rongfu icily stated, "I am well aware of the evil motives of the Tubo Empire. In this case, you must be acting on behalf of the Tubo Prince." Jiu Mozi countered, "What do you indicate by evil motives? If all the admirers of the Wuxia princess are deemed to be hiding evil motives, may I inquire about your personal motives? Are they upright or evil?" Mu Rongfu commented, "In order to win the hand of the princess of Wuxia, I shall compete to become the prince consort based on my own abilities. I am not the kind of person who will instruct my subordinates to create trouble in Lingzhou, earning the disapproval of heroes and the horror of the population." Jiu Mozi laughed. "You are generally threatening the incompetent challengers to forfeit the competition. Our intention is to prevent the capital of Wuxia from descending into chaos and from being flooded by weaklings and unworthy bachelors. From your perspective, we are also clearing your path of unnecessary hindrances. Isn't that to your benefit? If you guys remember, there were two big dudes who were preventing young men from going to the capital. Yeah. So it's from those are people from Tubo, apparently. Murongfu interrogated. If what you said is true, then it sounds pretty awesome. Nevertheless, is the Prince of Tubo Empire depending on his own abilities to win the competition? Jiumozu affirmed, indeed. Noting his fearless composure and overwhelming aura of confidence, Murongfu was highly suspicious and questioned. Has the prince of your prestigious empire mastered a set of superb martial arts, rendering him invincible, and therefore 100% confident of victory? Jiumozu highlighted, the young prince is my disciple, and his martial arts is above average. Although he is not considered an invincible opponent, his victory is still guaranteed. Murongfu was even more perplexed than before. He wondered, if I were to probe him directly for an answer, he may give an ambiguous reply. It is better that I try to agitate him, and he may inadvertently reveal his secret. Thus he challenged, that's odd. The prince of your prestigious empire has full confidence in his victory. However, I believe I will emerge victorious too. After the competition, I wonder who the real winner would be. Jiumozu laughed. You must be itching to find out the real reason why our prince is guaranteed to win the competition, aren't you? Why don't you share your plan with me, and I will share our plan with you. We can co-analyze and compare our plans and judge for ourselves who has a more brilliant strategy. Except for his confidence in his excellent martial arts and outstanding appearance, Murongfu did not have any concrete plan to guarantee his victory. Hence, he remarked, you are full of evil schemes and often go back on your word. If I share my plan first and you refuse to share yours, wouldn't I be at a disadvantage? Jiumozu let out a big laugh. Mr. Murong, I have been acquainted with your father for many years, and we admire each other very much. Even if you find me overbearing, I am still considered your elder. Regarding your harsh speech, don't you think you are being disrespectful? Murongfu bowed in a salute and apologized. Ming Wang's censure is appropriate. Please accept my apology. Apparently, Ming Wang is his title. Oh yeah, the Great Bright Wheel King or something. Jiumozu smiled. Mister is a true genius. Since you acknowledge you are my junior, I shall not take advantage of you for your father's sake. The secret behind the guaranteed victory of Tubo's prince is actually an amateur trick. We simply remove all the contenders who are entering the competition. Without any competition, wouldn't our prince be guaranteed victory? Oh, it's a challenge. Murongfu's face turned pale, and he stammered. In this case, Jiumozu advised, the ties between your father and I run deep. Naturally, I wish to spare your life. I sincerely recommend Mr. depart from Xixie. This is the best outcome for you. Murongfu asked, what if I refuse to go? Jiumozu smiled. I will spare your life, still, but will require you to dig out both your eyes or chop off an arm and a leg, essentially making you a handicap. The princess of Wuxia will naturally avoid marrying a handicap, even if he is a righteous hero. When Jiumozu mentioned the words righteous hero, he intentionally emphasized them in a sarcastic manner. Mu Rongfu was furious. Frightened of Jiumozu's superior skills, he dared not carelessly engage him. Lowering his head, he thought hard and fast for a solution. Under the moonlight, he abruptly detected some fine, snaking movement. Peering closer, he discovered it was the shadow of Jiumozu's right hand. Mu Rongfu was alarmed, deducing that his opponent was consolidating his energy and was ready to strike in an instant. He secretly gathered his own energy in preparation to meet the attack. Beyond his expectations, Jiumozu added, "Mister, when you forced your very own cousin to commit suicide, that act itself is a great violation of morals. If you make haste and depart from Wuxia, I will no longer hold you accountable for this act of pressuring Miss Wang to her death." Mu Rongfu snorted. Is that what he did? "She jumped into the well and committed suicide for love. I have nothing to do with it." As he spoke, he stared at the shadows on the ground and noticed the shadows of Jiumozu's hands were shaking intensely. Mu Rongfu's suspicions were aroused. He thought, Jiumozu has mastered an incredibly high level of martial arts. If he intended to harm his rivals, why waste time on trivial persuasion and putting up a show of authority? Could he be putting up a false front and trying to scare me into submission? Another quick scan of the shadows revealed that the corners of Jiumozu's pants and sleeves were vibrating tenderly, betraying a fact that Jiumozu's entire body was actually shivering uncontrollably. Oh, it's because he's been practicing the Shaolin martial arts and not reading the scriptures. He's in big trouble, it seems. He's not doing well. In a split second, Mu Rongfu had an epiphany. He swiftly remembered. That day, inside the Shaolin Monastery's Sutra Chamber, the nameless old monk mentioned that Jiumozu had mastered Shaolin sect's 72 legendary skills, and afterwards forced himself to practice the Yi Jing Sutra. This was the wrong flow of learning these skills, and the practitioner faces an impending disaster. The old monk explained that when learning these legendary skills, the student must possess a high level of compassion. A learner with a violent nature will be faced with obstacles and danger to his health. When this old monk pointed out the discomforts of my father and Xiao Yuanshen, his predictions were accurate and precise. Therefore, the diagnosis of Jiumozu cannot be too far from the truth. Thinking about this point, Mu Rongfu was overjoyed. Hey, this monk himself is facing an impending danger, and yet he dares to threaten me, demanding that I lose my eyes or my limbs. Still, Mu Rongfu could not be absolutely sure, and needed to test this theory. He exclaimed, Aye! The wrong flow of learning skills and the practitioner will face an impending disaster. When learning the top echelon skills, the backfire effect is simply the worst. Out of the blue, Jiumozu erupted in a spine-chilling roar. Rawr! It was a terrifying scream, sounding more like an animal than a man. His hands reached out to grab Mu Rongfu as he hollered, What are you talking about? You! Who are you talking about? Mu Rongfu slanted his body to avoid his hands. Jiumozu turned his body to follow the momentum. As the moonlight shone on his face, it highlighted his bloodshot eyes, shrunken brows, and a face filled with violent rage. Despite the fearsome aura, nothing can conceal the tinge of fear on the same face. There was no longer any doubt in Mu Rongfu. He advised, I have a piece of sincere proposal. Ming Wang should quickly leave Wuxia and return to Tubo. As long as you do not activate your internal energy, do not get angry, and do not exchange blows, you can return to your hometown safely. Otherwise, the prediction of the Shaolin divine monk will come true. Jiumozu was a shade of his former self. His usual calm and patient demeanor had vanished without a trace. He yelled, "You! What do you know? What do you know?" Observing the ugly complexion, in complete contrast with the normally strict and saintly monk appearance, Murongfu could not help feeling dreadful and took one step back. Jiumozu demanded, "What do you know? Tell me, quickly!" Murongfu forced himself to steady his nerves. Letting out a sigh, he explained, Bright King's internal energy has taken the wrong path, and your life is in danger. If you do not leave for Tubo immediately, you should at least consider going to the Shaolin Monastery and seek medical help from the divine monk. There is still hope for you. Jiumozu let out a false laugh. How do you know my internal energy has taken the wrong path? Utter rubbish. As he spoke, his left hand shot out, making a grabbing frontal attack at Murongfu. Although his 5 fingers were still quivering, the grab was still a powerful one, backed by years of experience and foundation. There was no sign of internal energy injury. Murongfu was secretly traumatized, and he thought, did I guess wrongly? Summoning his own internal energy, he focused on receiving the blow. Using his right hand, he blocked the blow and tried to hook the wrist of his opponent. Jiumozu bellowed, "For your father's sake, I will not employ any killing moves in the first 10 stances. This is a token of my friendship to the child of my old friend." Whoosh! A punch flew out towards Murongfu's right shoulder. Murongfu floated away to avoid the punch, but Jiumozu's second attack was following up closely behind without a gap. Although Murongfu was talented in the blank, should be the star-shifting movement, which allowed him to use the opponent's attack against himself, Jiumozu's attacks were too intricate for that. Every strike would transform in the middle of the stroke, giving Murongfu no opportunity to reverse the blow. Eventually, Murongfu could only guard the critical parts of his body and wait for a window to counterattack. Jiumozu's attacking stances were truly mysterious and rarely seen in the martial world. In an original punch attack would evolve into a jab, a grab technique transformed into a palm attack right before making contact. Jiumozu thundered, "The 10 strokes are completed. Face your fate." Murongfu was bedazzled as he became surrounded by several images of Jiumozu. On his left came a kick, on his right flew a punch. From the front, a palm movement is rapidly closing in, and a jabbing strike was almost at his back. It was as if he was being simultaneously hammered by a group of people. Unable to meet the barrage, he summoned his internal energy for defense and let loose both his palms in a series of wild, confused parries. All of a sudden, he heard Jiumozu's relentless panting. The wheezing noise began to worsen, drawing Murongfu's attention. He thought, this monk's internal circulation has gone haywire. If this persists, he will surely collapse and die on the spot. But as Jiumozu's panting became even more severe, his strokes increased in intensity as well. With a sudden roar from Jiumozu, Murongfu felt pain concurrently at his waist, Zhuzhong point, and stomach, Sangchu point. With these 2 acupoints blocked, his limbs lost all their strength, and he became immobile. Jiumozu coldly laughed for a while. Despite his persistent breathlessness, he panted, I kindly persuaded you to get lost, but you chose to stay instead. Now you cannot blame me for your predicament. What should I do with you? He pinched his lips and whistled loudly. No. Anyways, in a short spell of time, 4 Tubo warriors emerged from the woods. Bowing, they acknowledged, "What are Bright King's orders?" Jumotsu commanded. "Hack this kid to pieces." The 4 warriors replied in unison, "Yes, Bright King." Do I not know how to whistle? What do you mean? That was a whistle. You didn't hear it? Must be the mic. Didn't pick it up. What, you want to hear it again? That was the opposite of loud. That was super loud. That was so loud, my ears are ringing, guys. Although Mu Rongfu was immobile, his ears were still working fine. He groaned inwardly. Earlier on, if only I had accepted cousin's love and promised her to give up on the Xixia prince consort dream. Currently, I will not be losing my life to the sword. After my death, the restoration of Great Yen will extinguish with me. He wanted to communicate this information, but could not find his voice. Furthermore, Jumotsu did not spare him a second glance. Even if Mu Rongfu could signal with his eyes, it was to no avail. The 4 Tubo warriors received Mu Rongfu's body. One of them unsheathed a curved saber and was getting ready to chop towards his neck. Jumotsu interrupted. "Hold it! I am an old acquaintance of this kid's father. Let him die with a complete corpse. Throw him into that abandoned well." Oh, of course. Why do bad guys do this? Just kill him. After that, seal the well with big rocks. Even if he unblocks his acupoints, there is no way for him to climb out. The Tubo warriors replied, "Yes, Bright King." After depositing Mu Rongfu into the abandoned well, they could not locate any suitable rocks in the vicinity. Oh. That was done without much fanfare. As a result, they speedily traveled to the back of the hill to search for large rocks. Standing beside the well, a distressed Jumotsu was gasping for breath. Back at Mount Shaoxi, after he ambushed Duan Yu with his fire saber thing, he was afraid that the numerous martial experts would gang up against him. Therefore, he immediately escaped down the mountain. Halfway down the mountain, he could already feel his dantian point swelling with a burning sensation. Yep, he's having a lot of issues now. At once, he halted his steps and tried to regulate his internal energy. To his shock and surprise, it was extremely difficult to do so. He thought, "That old rascal monk mentioned that I mastered Shaolin's 72 legendary skills without the matching level of compassion, causing my energy flows to be blocked, thereby planting a ticking time bomb. After learning the Yi Jing Sutra, my energy flows became topsy-turvy, and now I am at the brink of internal energy disaster. Could it be that old rascal's prediction is coming true?" You really hope they're all alive in the well? They must be all alive, right? There's no way they die. All 3 of them? Or any one of them? No way. I don't believe it. Without any delay, Jumotsu sourced for a mountain cave and sat down to meditate. As long as he did not activate his internal energy flows, the burning sensation in his body would slowly subside. Any minor exertion will instantly trigger the full burning sensation at his dantian, and it felt as if his organs were on fire. His meditation lasted until evening. Unable to detect any pursuers from Shaolin Monastery, he slowly headed south towards home. Along his journey, he encountered a Tubo messenger spy and learned about the Tubo king sending the prince to Lingzhou for the marriage and application for Xixia prince consort. If you forgot, Tubo is Tibet. The spy detailed, on this mission, the prince is accompanied by a large entourage of highly skilled warriors. They are furnished with copious amounts of gold, silver, precious jewelry, rare valuables, famous steeds, and prized swords. The steeds and swords were tribute items to the emperor of Xixia. The rare valuables were gifts for the princess, and the gold, silver, and precious jewelry would be used to bribe the Xixia eunuchs, concubines, and officials of various grades. As the grand priest, the advisor of Tubo, Jiumozu was involved in laying the strategies for the country's political and military affairs. The success or failure of this marriage will affect the country's future. So despite his ill health, he headed towards Xixia to oversee the operation, dispatching the talented fighters to terrorize other potential contenders for the prince consort. By the 10th day of August of the lunar calendar, the warriors of Tubo had already driven away hundreds of admirers from prestigious families as well as accomplished martial arts heroes. Despite the huge number of participants, every one of them was behaving in an individualistic manner, battle royale style. Since the applicants were mostly solo and no assistance was given to one another, one by one they eventually succumbed to the group attacks of the Tubo warriors. If Xiaofeng's dad can survive a fall off a cliff, you think the main character can survive a fall down a well? Yeah, true. Since arriving at Lingzhou, Jiumozu had been living in seclusion and healing his internal energy. The turmoil of burning sensation in his body was greatly diminished, but once he triggered his energies, all his limbs and bones would tremble uncontrollably. Even when he eventually reached a new equanimity, his fingers, eyebrows, mouth, and shoulders would still vibrate slightly, and the spasms simply will not go away. He naturally wished to avoid exposure and chose to live alone, minimizing his contact with other humans. Today, a subordinate has reported Mu Rongfu's arrival into Lingzhou, and that several Tubo warriors had been killed or injured by Mu Rongfu's entourage. Jiumozu thought, Mu Rongfu is blessed with a charming appearance, good literacy background, and competent martial arts. He is truly a top talent among his generation of martial artists. If Mu Rongfu stays and competes, the Prince of Tubo would surely lose to him. Despite his plentiful warriors, none of them is able to match Mu Rongfu's ability. This time round, he must personally get involved in order to overcome Mu Rongfu. Moreover, Mu Rongfu was well aware of Jiumozu's consummate skills. Based on this, he should be able to scare Mu Rongfu away without a fight. With this thinking, he hunted for Mu Rongfu at the inn. By the time he arrived, Mu Rongfu had left with the captured Duan Yu. The inn was under surveillance by the Tubo warriors. Learning the direction where Mu Rongfu went, Jiumozu gave chase. When he got to the woods, Mu Rongfu had already thrown Duan Yu into the well and was conversing with Wang Yuyan. After a bout of fighting, Mu Rongfu may have been captured, but Jiumozu was experiencing chaotic internal energy movements. Regardless of his arteries or meridians or acupoints, the energies were running amok, as if they were about to burst out from his body, but no exit was available. Jiumozu was heavily depressed by his predicament. Using his hands, he clawed at his own chest as the internal energy continued to surge and expand. He felt as if his brain, chest, and stomach were swelling like a balloon, and at any point in time his body would explode into a rain of mincemeat. Lowering his head to examine his chest and stomach, he could not see any physical deformity or swelling. Nonetheless, with the turbulent internal energy, he definitely felt as if his whole body had been inflated to become a large ball. In his state of helplessness, he used his right hand to stab at his left shoulder and both legs, piercing 3 holes in his flesh. Jiumozu desired to guide his internal energy into these 3 holes and provide an exit for them to be expended from his body. Oh, is that how it works? Blood could be seen leaving the 3 wounds, but the internal energy continued to plague him. The words of the old monk from Shaolin Monastery Sutra Chamber rang incessantly in his ears. By now, Jiumozu realized that the monk was telling the truth, and that he himself had been awfully greedy, mistakenly learning Shaolin's 72 legendary skills and Yijing Sutra in the wrong order. He was presently on the brink of death. His heart was panicking, but he managed to keep his wits about him. After all, he had accumulated many years of cultivation, and his Buddhist meditation skill had reached a profound level. Out of the blue, Jiumozu had a brainwave. A brainwave? That can't be the right word. He had a thought. He thought, why didn't he himself try to master these skills? Why didn't he himself try to master these skills? Why did he only learn selected skills and yet presented me with a complete set of 72 legendary skills? We barely knew each other before that, and even if we can click very well and turned out to be bosom friends, there is no need for him to bestow such generosity upon me. In the midst of this precarious period, Jiumozu suddenly understood Murong Bo's agenda when the latter presented him with the manuals containing the Shaolin's 72 legendary skills. When Murong Bo first gifted the manuals, Jiumozu did have some doubts about them, concerned that Murong Bo was trying to scam him. But after reading the manuals, he discovered that the legendary skills were truly peerless, and such teachings could not be easily falsified. He even tested the paper of manuals for poison, which there were none, thereby removing all doubt. From then on, he practiced the skills diligently, and with every skill that he mastered, his gratitude for Murong Bo increased in tandem. At this point in time, when Jiumozu was alternating between life and death, he finally comprehended Murong Bo's intention and malice. He figured, he has been hiding inside Shaolin Monastery for more than 10 years. He must have overheard the monks' conversations about these legendary skills. Perhaps these skills are not meant to be learned spontaneously. When we met for the first time, he was probably conscious of my martial arts attainment and decided to pass me these legendary manuals. First, he wanted me to be his guinea pig and see the consequence of someone who has learned all the legendary skills. Second, he wanted to sow discord between the Shaolin Monastery and me, escalating the fight into war between Tubo and Great Song. When that happens, his Murong lineage could profit from the chaos and revive the Yan Empire. Regarding the 72 legendary skill manuals, he probably has an extra copy somewhere that he kept for himself. So this guy was strict. Alright, guys. Let's take a break. I will be right back. 5 minutes. And we back. Name of the song? I'll link it. There you go. All right. Continuing on. When he captured Murongfu earlier, he was reminded of the Shaolin manuals from Murongbo and the deep appreciation for him. Despite knowing that Murongfu was a potential enemy, Jiumozu did not execute him on the spot, but chose to let him die in the abandoned well with a complete corpse. Now that he truly understood the reason behind Murongbo's gift of manuals, he realized that his sufferings today was all because of this evil man and his evil deed. Naturally, he was mad with anger. No, what else are you mad at? With leaning against the opening of the well, he sent 3 consecutive palm strikes downwards into the well. As the blows of the palm strikes traveled down, the well remained silent, highlighting the depth of the well and the inability of the blows to reach the bottom. Furious with rage, Jiumozu forced his strength to execute a punch. With this punch attack, the internal energies went into complete disarray. Yeah, why is he using his energy? He's already hella wounded. It felt as if these energies were trying to vent out through the 108,000 skin pores. Oh yeah? Is that how many pores there are? But wherever they went, the energies met with constraints, and they remained trapped in his body. Feeling traumatized and irritated, Jiumozu suddenly felt a movement at his chest area. From his robes, an item fell out and into the well. He tried to catch the falling object, but it was too late. He hurriedly employed the from? What? He hurriedly employed the from. So it's some kind of technique. Under ordinary circumstances, he could easily retrieve the object, but this time his tendons were not under his complete control. The energy did expand, but the effect could not be executed from his palm. With a pa sound, the item had hit the bottom of the well. Jiumozu groaned to himself. Ah, not good. Using his hand to search his bosom area, he realized the dropped object was indeed his copy of the Yi Jing Sutra. From, did they mean form? Yeah, they probably meant form. He employed the form, blah, 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 blah. He was aware that the internal energy chaotic movement originated from the practice of the Yi Jing Sutra. The Yi Jing Sutra was therefore the problem and the solution. To avert this disaster, he must consult the Yi Jing Sutra again. It was a matter of life and death. How could he afford to lose it? Without any further thought, he leapt into the well. Okay. Everyone's in the well. Worried that the bottom of the well may be lined with sharp rocks or thick branches that could impale his limbs, and afraid that Murongfu may have released his acupoints and was getting ready to ambush him. Before his feet reached the bottom, Jiumozu utilized his right hand and sent 2 palm strikes downwards with the aim of slowing down his descent. From his left palm, he executed blank, a stance which protected the critical parts of his body. Unexpectedly, his internal energies were experiencing huge transformations. Although the palm movements were precise, there was no strength behind them. Eventually, the exerted energy inaccurately dissipated, missing their targets. The 2 downward palm strikes not only failed to slow his fall, they increased his falling momentum. Oh, how did that work? With a loud pong, his skull smashed heavily against the bricks lining the inner wall of the well. Based on his original internal energy cultivation, although he was not impenetrable, when his skull was bashed against the bricks, he would not suffer the slightest injury, and the bricks would be smashed into smithereens. However, he was in his worst possible state right now. Feeling dizzy and seeing stars, he bent over and collapsed at the bottom of the well. You hope Duan Yu sucks out all of his energy? Ooh, that would be good. This well had been abandoned for ages. with large mounds of dead leaves and rotting vegetation. All that was left was soft mud debris after years of desolation. As time went by, the soft mud debris had stacked to a considerable height. With this fall, Jiumozu's mouth and nose ended up buried in the mud debris. He could feel his body slowly sinking. When he struggled to stand up, his limbs were unable to exert any strength. In this state of anxiety, he suddenly heard someone calling from the top of the well. "Grand Priest! Grand Priest!" It was the 4 Tubo warriors. Jiumozu tried to shout, "I am here!" The minute he opened his mouth to speak, mud entered it. Accordingly, no sound was emitted. Instead, he roughly overheard the 4 Tubo warriors speaking beside the well. One of them wondered out loud, "Grand Priest is not here. Where could he be?" Another reason, "Grand Priest must have departed first due to impatience. Since he instructed us to seal the well with the large rocks, let's fulfill his command." A third man acknowledged, "Yes." Oh no. Jiumozu shouted at the top of his voice, "I am here! Quickly, come and save me!" The more he panicked, the more mud debris entered his mouth. In his daze, he had already swallowed 2 mouthfuls in succession. Naturally, the rotting smell was unbearable. Hearing several ping-pong, pong-long noises, it was the sound of Tubo warriors piling up huge rocks on the well. These warriors respected Jiumozu like a deity, and regarded his orders with no less importance than that of an imperial edict from their king. Using the biggest rocks they could find, and building the most solid formation they could, the well was securely sealed in a short span of time, with 13 rocks weighing hundreds of kari. Damn. Hearing the 4 warriors stack the giant rocks and leaving after the task was completed, Jiumozu lamented to himself. Even at full prowess, removing these rocks from within the well in order to escape is considered a challenging task. Now that I'm unable to utilize my martial arts, these heavy rocks sealing the well simply indicate that I will surely die inside this abandoned well. Bells? Oh, not yet. No one's died yet. His Buddhist knowledge, martial arts, and strategic planning was not only top-notch, but considered the best in the Western region. Who would have expected that he would die in a pile of dirty mud? Since time immemorial, everyone died. However, such a muddy death was genuinely unglamorous. In Buddhism, the body was considered to be a tainted vessel, an impermanent object. All impermanent objects were considered to be a form of suffering. The body does not belong to you, and one day you have to leave your body. These were basic Buddhist principles. Whenever Jiumozu gave Dharma talks at the altar, he was able to wisely articulate these principles, explaining them flawlessly and earning the praise of his disciples. In comparison, he was currently stuck in an abandoned well that was sealed with rocks. The mud in his mouth compared to the fragrance of incense and lotuses from the altar, the contrast was enormous. On the one hand, there was Nirvana, forever living a happy and peaceful life, free from fetters and the sufferings of the 5 senses. On the other hand, desire clouds the mind, fear rules the heart, greed, hatred, and delusion exists, accumulating into this result of being trapped in a muddy well. Thinking about his hurtful experience, his tears began to flow. Covered in mud, he was dirty beyond recognition. Eventually, he got used to the mud and used his hand to wipe his tears. Moving his left hand, he unexpectedly brushed against something in the mud. Grabbing the new object, it turned out to be his copy of the Yijing Sutra. In an instant, he could not help but laugh to his heart's content. He had recovered the sutra, but of what use is it now? Out of nowhere, he heard a female voice articulating, Listen, the two bow warriors have sealed the well with large rocks. How can we get out? Ah, still alive. Jiumozu recognized the speaker to be Wang Yuyan and was delighted. He thought, so she survived. But to whom is she speaking to? Since there are others around, we can combine our strength, push aside the large rocks, and escape from here. A man spoke out. As long as I can stay together with you, even if we are trapped, it does not matter. We know who this is. Since you are by my side, even a smelly and muddy well feels like a fragrant garden, regardless of whether it is the Eastern Pure Land, Western Paradise, Tusita Heavens, or Yama Heavens. No place is better than my current location. Jiumozu was stunned. He thought to himself, this Duan fellow is actually still alive? He was injured by my blank, and our enmity runs deep. Presently, I cannot activate my internal energy. If he took advantage of this weakness to exact revenge, what should I do? How big is this well? It's gigantic. The speaker was indeed Duan Yu. When Mu Rongfu threw him into the well, he had lost consciousness and was completely immobile. Although he landed into the muddy debris, he wasn't as haggard as Jiumozu. The bottom of the well was fairly narrow. When Wang Yuyan jumped into it, it was a nice coincidence that her head knocked onto Duan Yu's chest danzhong point. With this knock, Duan Yu regained consciousness. Wang Yuyan had fallen into his bosom, anime style. Not only was she uninjured, she was only slightly muddied in the process. Duan Yu suddenly felt someone lying in his bosom and was greatly puzzled. Then he heard Mu Rongfu speaking at the top of the well. Cousin, in your heart you truly love Mr. Duan. Although the two of you cannot live as a married couple, but by dying in the same hole, at least you should die a fulfilled death. These words clearly resonated to the bottom of the well, and upon hearing them, Duan Yu was in a daze. He mumbled to himself, What? No, Duan Yu don't deserve such good fortune. To his amazement, the person lying on his bosom gently remarked, Mr. Duan, I am truly as muddle-headed as can be. You have always been kind to me, yet Duan Yu was shocked, speechless. He inquired, You are Miss Wang? Wang Yuyan replied, Yes. Since the beginning, Duan Yu had always been respectful of Wang Yuyan and dared not intrude into her personal space. The minute he recognized it was indeed her. Beside feeling astonishment and delight, he hurriedly stood up and wanted to release her from his bosom. However, the bottom of the well was narrow and filled with muddy debris. When Duan Yu stood upright, his two legs began to sink into it, and the top of the mud was almost at his chest. He could not help but feel it was highly inappropriate to put Wang Yuyan down into the mud. Still carrying her body horizontally, he profusely apologized. Sorry, Miss Wang, we are stuck in a muddy pile, so please bear with me. Wang Yuyan inhaled deeply and was filled with gratitude. Twice she had nearly died, and twice she had escaped death. With regards to Mu Rongfu's character, nobody knew better than her, and she could no longer deceive herself. In addition, Duan Yu had always been devoted to her. Comparing these two personalities, it was plainly obvious that one was caring and righteous, while the other was selfish and cold-blooded. Although her jump from the opening of the well to the bottom only took a short space of time, her mindset underwent a huge transformation. At the point of suicide, she decided to die out of gratitude to Duan Yu. Unexpectedly, both she and Duan Yu survived. This unforeseen turn of events filled her heart with gladness. Since she was young, Wang Yuyan had been brought up well. Is that a pun? Living a cultured lifestyle, and everything that she did was prim and proper. With the recent massive changes occurring in her life, she was especially emotional. Unable to hold back her feelings, she confessed to Duan Yu. Mr. Duan, I originally thought you were deceased. Recalling your frequent acts of kindness to me, I am filled with pain and regret. Fortunately, heaven is fair, and you are unhurt. I suppose you have overheard my earlier conversation at the top of the well? At the last sentence, she could not help but feel a tinge of embarrassment, and quickly hid her face beside Duan Yu's neck. Within this short spell of time, Duan Yu could only feel his spirits flying into the sky in clouds. He felt as if he was dreaming. For the longest time, this recurring wish on his mind was about to become reality. Overjoyed, both his legs turned to jelly, and momentarily he lost the ability to stand. With his back leaning against the inner wall of the well for support, both his arms were still hugging Wang Yuyan's body frame. Right then, a few strands of hair from Wang Yuyan entered his nostrils. Achoo! Achoo! Duan Yu sneezed a few times consecutively. Wang Yuyan asked, "You, what happened to you? Are you injured?" Duan Yu replied, No. Achoo! Achoo! I'm not hurt. Achoo! Neither am I sick with flu. I am simply happy beyond description. Miss Wang, achoo! I am so overwhelmed that I nearly fainted from joy. There was complete darkness inside the well, and neither of them could see each other. Wang Yuyan smiled in silence as she herself was drowning in ecstasy. Since youth, she had been smitten with her cousin, but he never reciprocated her love. It was only today that she tasted for the first time what it felt like when two people were in love. Duan Yu stammered. Miss Wang, what did you say earlier at the top of the well? I did not manage to catch anything. Wang Yuyan giggled. I have known you to be an honest and upright gentleman, but I never imagined that you are such a tease. You obviously heard it all, but want me to repeat them in person. It's so embarrassing for me. I will not repeat them. Duan Yu anxiously clarified. I definitely did not hear anything. If I did hear, may heaven punish me. He was about to swear a vicious vow when he felt something warm on his lips. Wang Yuyan had covered his mouth with her hand. Oh, he just came. In the darkness, he heard Wang Yuyan state, It is fine if you did not hear anything. It is no big deal, and there is no need to make a vicious vow. Duan Yu was elated. Since he got to know her, she had never been so affectionate with him. He implored, So, what did you say earlier? Wang Yuyan started. I said... Hit with a bout of shyness, she smiled. In the following days, we can always find time to talk about these things. We have a long future ahead of us. There is no need to rush for the details now. We have a long future ahead of us. There is no need to rush for details now. When these words entered Duan Yu's ear, he felt as if he was listening to heavenly music. Even if all the Western paradise Jialing birds sang in unison, it would not sound as lovely as this. What Wang Yuyan made this statement, the underlying meaning was that in the future, she would be cohabitating with Duan Yu. Taking in this wonderful news, Duan Yu was still in a state of disbelief. He asked, In the future, we will always be together? Reaching out her arm and hugging Duan Yu's neck, Wang Yuyan whispered into his ear, Duan Lang, as long as you do not resent me and bear no grudges against me for being nonchalant to you in the past, I am willing to accompany you for the rest of my life. Never will I leave you again. Duan Yu's heart nearly jumped out of his mouth. He probed, What about your cousin? You have always... Always been fond of Mr. Murong, Wang Yuyan answered. I was never one of his priorities. Only today did I realize it. In this world, who genuinely loves me, cares for me, and who places my importance above his own life. In a quivering voice, Duan Yu muttered, Are you referring to me? Tearing up, Wang Yuyan sobbed, Of course! For his entire life, my cousin had been dreaming about becoming the Emperor of Yen. At the beginning, it seemed like a natural process. After all, his Murong lineage has been harboring this ambition for several generations. When the burden falls onto him, why should he be any different and realize the futility of his dream? My cousin started off as a good person, but eventually cast his morals aside in order to fulfill his dream as the Emperor of Yen. Hearing her outburst, Duan Yu felt the need to speak up for Mu Rongfu. In a flustered manner, he imagined, Miss Wang, what if your cousin expresses regret and wanted to rekindle the relationship? What will you do? Wang Yuyan sighed. Duan Lang, I may be muddle-headed, but I am still someone who keeps my promises. Today, I vowed to accompany you for life. If I wavered, wouldn't that be a stain on my character? Furthermore, how else can I live up to your deep love and commitment? Duan Yu was on cloud 9. Still holding her, he leapt up and shouted, Aha! For joy, with the pa sound he landed again in the muddy debris. He reached out with his mouth and wanted to kiss her lips. Duan Yu did not shy away. When the two pairs of lips were about to make contact, they were interrupted by a rustling sound above their heads. It appeared that something had fallen into the well. Well, that's kind of awkward. The two of them were astounded and speedily plastered themselves against the inner wall of the well. With a boom sound, it appeared that a human being had fallen into it. Duan Yu quizzed, Who is it? The mystery person let out a huh and responded, It is me. It was Mu Rongfu indeed. Oh no. When Duan Yu regained consciousness, he was enamored by Wang Yuyan's tender voice. Both of them were so captivated by each other that they were blissfully ignorant of whatever transpired outside the well. Even if there was an apocalypse, it did not matter. Plausibly, they had no inkling about the fierce sparring between Jiu Mozi and Mu Rongfu. Now that Mu Rongfu had entered the well, the two of them were petrified, assuming that he was here to make things difficult for them. Wang Yuyan insisted in a shaky voice, Cousin, what are you here for? I belong to Mr. Duan now. If you are going to kill him, please kill me as well. Duan Yu was thrilled. He was not worried about Mu Rongfu trying to harm him. He was afraid that Wang Yuyan might rekindle her past love after seeing her cousin and once again return to his side. Hearing her proclamation, he immediately rested easy. He also felt Wang Yuyan reaching out with her hands and holding on to his two hands. His confidence boosted by 100 times, Duan Yu emphasized, Mr. Mu Rong, you can go ahead and become the prince consort of Xixia. I promise I will not obstruct you in any way. Your cousin, however, is mine. You can no longer take her away. Yu Yan, am I right? Wang Yuyan affirmed, Correct. Duan Lang, in life or in death, I will be right beside you. With his acupoints sealed by Jiu Mozi, despite being immobile, Mu Rongfu could still hear and speak. Listening to the words of Duan Yu and Wang Yuyan, he thought, the two of them have no idea that I just suffered a heavy loss and am at a disadvantage now. Thus they remain guarded against me and are afraid that I would harm them. This is considered my good fortune. I shall employ a delaying tactic. With this strategy, he replied, Cousin, After you married Mr. Duan, we will become one big family of relatives. Mr. Duan would have become my cousin-in-law. Why should I harm him? Duan Yu was kind-hearted by nature, while Wang Yuyan was naive and gullible. When they heard his reply, the two of them were ecstatic. One said, "Many thanks, brother Murong." The other one said, "Many thanks, cousin." Murong Fu interrogated, "Brother Don, we will be family. You will no longer disrupt my plans to become the prince consort of Xixia?" Duan Yu confirmed, "You have my word. Besides becoming husband and wife with your esteemed cousin, I have no other desires. Even if I were to exchange it for becoming a deity or an arahat, I will be most unwilling." Filled with boundless happiness, Wang Yuyan gently leaned against Duan Yu. Guys, it's kind of cringy. We gotta move on, guys. Move it along. In the background, Murong Fu was secretly channeling his internal energy to burst through the acupoints sealed by Jiumo Zhu. It was taken quite a long time, and yet he was unwilling to ask Duan Yu for help. He angrily cursed to himself. It is often said that all women are promiscuous. This saying is accurate indeed. Under ordinary circumstances, cousin would have rapidly come to my side and assisted me in standing up. This time around, she has chosen to ignore me completely. What's up, Series Death? Nice of you to join. The circumference of the bottom of the well was about 3 meters, and the three individuals were actually pretty near one another. Wang Yuyan could hear Murong Fu lying in the mud without standing up. She only needed to take one step to reach the side of Murong Fu and help him up. However, she was firstly concerned that Murong Fu could be hatching another scheme to harm Duan Yu. Secondly, she did not want Duan Yu to get the wrong idea. Therefore, she eventually chose not to step out. With his turbulent emotions, the acupoints became harder to unblock, so Murong Fu calmed down and finally unsealed them. Using his hand against the wall of the well, he propped himself up. With a "pa" sound, an item dropped down beside his body. It was Jiumozu's Yi Jing Sutra. In the dark, Murong Fu could not identify the item, so he naturally took one step away. It was fortunate that he took this extra step. Otherwise, when Jiumozu jumped into the well, he would have knocked into Murong Fu. Picking up the sutra, Jiumozu abruptly burst out in hysterical laughter. As the well was deep and narrow, like a cylinder. Deep? How narrow is it, guys? It has room for 4 people. The sounds of laughter echoed within the well, shaking the eardrums of the 3 other people, and the laughing sound was droning in their ears. It was a horrible experience. With his internal energies all haywire and his senses in disarray, Jiumozu could not stop laughing. Within the mud, he began flaunting his punches and kicks, venting all the blows into the bricks forming the wall of the well. Some blows were full of strength and smashed the bricks into smithereens. Some blows carried no strength at all. Wang Yuyan was horror-struck. Tightly securing herself to Duan Yu, she whispered, "He has gone mad. He has gone mad." Duan Yu nodded. He has truly lost his senses. Meanwhile, Murong Fu utilized the skill blank. Sticking his body close to the wall of the well, he began to climb upwards. Jiumozu remained where he was, laughing and panting concurrently, while his punches and kicks started to increase in speed. Mustering her courage, Wang Yuyan advised, "Senior Master, you should sit down and take a break. Your nerves require some stabilization." Jiumozu laughingly scolded, I need to stabilize. If only I can stabilize. I'll stabilize your head first." Reaching out with his hand, he tried to grab her. Within the well, there was hardly any space to retreat. With this grab, he grabbed onto Wang Yuyan's shoulder. She let out a shriek and hastily moved aside. Duan Yu dashed in front of her and blocked her with his own body. He called out, "Hide behind me!" At this point in time, the two hands of Jumotsu have locked onto his throat and were tightening swiftly. Oh, is he really gonna suck all of his energy? Duan Yu could feel his breath quickening, and he could no longer speak out. Wang Yuyan was traumatized, and hurriedly used her hands to pry open Jumotsu's arms. The current Jumotsu was just a raging madman. Although his internal energy was out of control, his strength was still extraordinary. When Wang Yuyan wanted to pry open his hands, it was like a dragonfly trying to lift a stone pillar. She was of no assistance. Wang Yuyan was filled with anxiety, and her biggest fear was Jumotsu strangling Duan Yu to death. She screamed, "Cousin! Cousin! Come and help us! This monk is about to strangle Mr. Duan to death!" Murongfu thought, "This Duan fellow defeated me thoroughly on Mount Shaoxi, causing me to lose my standing in the martial world. If he dies, he dies. Why should I render any assistance? Additionally, this violent monk is highly skilled and far stronger than me. It is wiser to let them fight to their deaths, and hopefully it will be a double KO. I would be a fool if I interfered." Thus, his fingers held onto the gaps between the bricks, and he kept his body close to the wall of the well, keeping his silence. Wang Yuyan had shouted until her voice was nearly hoarse, but Murongfu pretended not to hear a thing. Wang Yuyan clenched her fist and rained uncoordinated blows on the head and back of Jumotsu. Gasping and laughing concurrently, Jumotsu exerted more strength in strangling Duan Yu's throat. And we're done. All right. How was that? Did you guys like the chapter? So Wang Yuyan totally switched her feelings. Right, now she loves Duan Yu now. Duan Yu finally gets the person he wanted the most. The person he wanted the entire novel. Was it a good chapter? What do you guys think about Wang Yuyan? Doesn't seem to me that she deserves him. No? Yeah, what is so good about her? Just that she's pretty? And then the author added the part where she's enamored by his wealth and his lineage. That's kind of weird. No? You hope the well lives to the end of the story? What if they're stuck in the well for the entire rest of the story? The four of them is just in there together. The well has the best character arc. True. Ugh. He has to drain Jumotsu's energy, right? He has to in the next chapter. So maybe when he drains his energy, Jumotsu will be cured. He'll be an invalid. He'll have no more strength left, but at least he'll be cured of his whatever disease. Or he'll just die from that disease. Oh, wait, the disease doesn't kill you, right? It just makes you an invalid. Yeah, so maybe that happens to Jumotsu. Which would be a good ending for him, I think. That's a good... Because he spent his whole life trying to learn martial arts, and he finally does it. And it actually causes him to lose all of his martial arts. All right, guys. Chapter 45, done. We got 5 more, and that's the end. 5 more chapters. That's 10 more episodes, and we're done. Can you believe it? It's been a while. Where has the well been so far? It's been here the entire time. The most important character in front of your face. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. It's been so long. True. Thanks for joining. I love you, and I will see you next time. Bye.